The ongoing drought in this country means that more Americans in more states are affected. And to understand just how big the problem is, we're talking to our old friend, meteorologist Jim Cantore. Jim, welcome back.
Good to see you again, buddy.
Same here. So how bad is the problem?
It's bad.
Yeah?
First of all, water is the new gold.
You think?
Big time. Take a look at the drought monitor here, and you can see about a third of the country is in drought. Places like Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, into California, Nevada. The darker the colors, the worse the drought. California alone, if you look at that, 80% of the state is in the worst kind of drought possible, and that's where we grow our food.
And the food thing is interesting, right? Because we think of California, we think of all the people, but we do know that there are areas of California, like this Central Valley region, that provide a lot of produce. I mean, 80–90% of our celery and our grapes and our almonds and our garlic all come from this area.
If you look at an 8-year running total in Los Angeles, going back to 2005, it is the lowest amount of rainfall they've ever recorded. And these records go back to 1877.
Wow.
So if you don't have rainfall, more than likely you don't have snowpack.
Yeah.
In the mountains, the snowpack is what feeds the valley. And so they're pulling tremendous amounts of water out of those aquifers to hydrate the landscaping.
Sure.
And those aquifers are actually sinking.
So it's a big problem with our agriculture, but when I think of California, I also think about the wildfires. These have to be related, right?
Yeah, worst possible combination. First of all, we've moved into the wildland interface. Now you've suppressed fires and you've added a drought on top of that. There's no more beginning and end of fire season. It's year round. And when they burn fast and they burn hot.
So what do you think? People out there crossing their fingers, just hoping for a deluge? Let it just pour on them?
I think they are, but that's the worst thing we could get because that ground is like cement right now. And when that water comes down, it's just going to run off. It's not going to seep in. So you need a slow, steady year's worth of rainfall, if you will. And that's going to sink into the soil.
So even a big rain is not going to help us?
No.
Okay. So we got an issue where we have to figure out the supply and demand. And we know that a lot of the supply comes from this snowpack up in the mountains, right?
Yeah, places like Las Vegas, the snow from Colorado runs down the Colorado River into Lake Mead. And you were just out there. You saw how low that was.
Very low.
So this is about conservation. This is about taking our water and using it wisely.
But wait, hang on a second, because I mean, obviously we can't control the supply in terms of snowfall or rainfall, but what about things like Richard was talking about with desalination, at least near the coast?
That would work for Los Angeles and San Francisco, but you're not going to put a pipe all the way to Phoenix or all the way to Las Vegas. That's just not cost effective.
Okay, so then we got to get to the demand, which is the conservation, and we just saw some conservation measures tearing out those lawns, xeriscaping, drip irrigation. Is that our future?
What if you don't have snowpack? The worst case scenario is probably right here in Wichita Falls, Texas. They're in a drought catastrophe right now. They have no ocean, they have no mountain snow. So when you're down 40 inches in rainfall, which they are, you're talking about extreme measures. So they're having, essentially restrictions on everything. You can't wash your car, you can't water your lawn. As a matter of fact, if you go into a restaurant, you can't even be served a glass of water.
It's
just
that
like
bad.
that. It's that bad unless you ask for it.
Illegal.
Illegal.
That's crazy.
And the measures are really extreme here. We're talking about water that you flush down the toilet is being cycled through and they're actually drinking it.
They're taking sewer water, making it into potable water?
That's what they're doing.
So is that a precursor for the level of conservation that we're going to have to be doing throughout this country?
It is if towns like Wichita Falls are going to survive.
Really? You paint a pretty dire picture, but it's good information. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir.